This is Timmhotep for Okayplayer. I'm here talking to my guys, Dead Prez, about an album that is very near and dear to my heart. It is called Let's Get Free. This is the 25th anniversary of that album. 25 years ago, they dropped what might be one of the best political hip hop albums or politically inspired hip hop albums ever to drop. And it was for me way more than just a bunch of pro-black platitudes. It was more than just the aesthetic of dashikis, kufis, guns, whatever. It was a critique of capitalism, white supremacy, and hip hop itself. And this is over beats that you could nod your head to and joints you could bounce to. So, with no further ado, here we are with Stickman and M1 of Dead Prez. Uhuru, what's good, guys?
Salute.
Wow, man.
Uhuru, salute.
Salute. What an awesome way to lay that out. Tim, I can just say, just gratitude, supreme gratitude, like sick of saying, thank you for letting us be here and talk about this. We've talked a little bit before, but like 25 years later, definitely hit a little different. So, yeah, thanks.
How does it feel 25 years later, knowing that you put together this debut that was so impactful, that really sent ripple effects through the culture in a number of different ways? How does it feel 25 years later to realize that?
That's a good question. Like, what do it feel? You, in general, sometimes articulating feelings is its own art, right? Like, how do you feel about something? You know what I mean? But I guess grateful is certainly a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, just to be 25 years since the debut of Let's Get Free, and honestly, I think I could speak for M as well. We were like, that might be the only project that we get to put out. You know what I mean? At one point, we had that perspective. And just in terms of the world, how we saw the world headed, and in terms of knowing the sacrifice we was making with making the kind of music we made in the same line of different people who had spoke truth in a certain kind of way. So to be 25 years deep and still here and still about that life and evolving and growing and it's still having relevancy is definitely a moment for gratitude. You know what I mean? Like that's powerful in itself. And at the same time, it's bittersweet that 25 years later, the things we was talking about is just as much still happening and still antagonizing the people. It would have been better to say, remember before Liberation, you guys put out this album and then everything changed and the world was different. But now here we are 25 years, Trump in office and it's haywire out here, So I have mixed feelings, but ultimately I'm grateful to still be in the fight.
Flash us back to the creation of the album. Where were you guys mentally, spiritually at that time? Because, from a listener perspective, you hear a lot of passion, a lot of hunger. Stick, you said something like, damn, we might not get a chance to do another album is how we might have felt, right? And you can kind of it's palpable on the record, right? Like, flashback to 25 years ago, where y'all was at, just emotionally, psychologically, and what the intention was. And I know y'all are in completely different places. We're going to talk about that too, but tell me about that.
Well, I guess I'll start, and I know M.A. could chime.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, like, just imagine, right? 25 years ago, I was 25. You know what I mean? So that's half my life, you know what I mean, ago. So I'm in a place where, the 90s, let's say, these were sentiments in our community was like, you gonna be dead or in jail by 21. These were like statements and beliefs and things that was palpable in our real experience. Cousins and and dead and so forth. Real life, Tupac got shot in public. You know what I mean? Like it was a definitely a different urgency of youth and opportunity to speak and grab this hip hop shit by the wheel and drive it somewhere we felt like would be significant to the revolutionary movement. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? A youth though, a youthful zeal, you know, that just put it all on the line. Even strategy might be second or third. Or thinking in a broader sense because you don't have the life experience to even understand. I didn't even have a bank account when my album dropped. You know what I mean? It wasn't no cell phone. You know what I mean? I was so disenfranchised from every aspect of all this shit. So, and so growing up, beside my partner, him, just as, now you got a household. Now you got, children, all those things. It was before all that. It was, so, it's really frontline with our art and our activism in a different way.
And I want you to add on to that. And the
Yeah.
question I have for you is like, what did you guys go into the studio knowing you wanted to get across to the people via the record?
If I remember correctly, one thing that we knew was that what we had to say was important, very important, not only to us, but that we were carrying a message that we felt should be heard by everybody. I can say that for sure. I knew there was an importance in what we were to deliver. If you can imagine, for me, we were, these outliers like in a pack who kind of like Stick said, like shunned it all. Like none of it was good. We literally were living renegade style and ready to throw it all to the wind for life. In order to see what the consequence of that is. That means being free. Ultimately, that would, and if we could calculate it right, would mean being free. But we were taking little pieces of the math that we was getting and putting it together, and this became the politics. Of course, guided in a really direct way. I would say, obviously from like Maurice Bishop, Steve Biko, all of them winning them down through Nkrumah through chairman, and then on the other side, whispering in our ears like Sonia Sanchez, Maya Angelou, the last poets, and so we literally thinking we gotta somehow tiptoe this through on the other side and let the bomb go off. And I think that's kind of how I felt. This album to me felt like, and even still, like when I think about it, it is like a time capsule of sorts for me because, I think even like Stick said, we expected the apocalypse. We expected to be buried in the rubble. And we hope that this is what, if you dug through the shit, this is what you're gonna find. This is what our hope, I think, was. Me in making and getting the words across that you heard on Let's Get Free. You know what I'm saying?
Damn. I'm thinking about the record and I'm thinking about myself hearing it for the first time, being really young, and how names like Fred Hampton, I wasn't even really aware of until I heard the record, right? Having an understanding of the police state. There's literally a song called Police State. And as in 2025, we look back and we see the militarism of the police, whether it be in the streets of Ferguson or whether it be in the streets of Atlanta or streets in New York or on a college campus, right? All that stuff puts it into perspective. I also think when I listen to the record that a lot of what you guys are talking about in terms of like the political education aspect of it was relatively new to you, right? And it was kind of contextualizing what you experienced. Would that be accurate to say?
Relatively new, meaning like we were 17 years old, and and like Stick said, when you heard what you heard, we were 25, 27.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that's relatively new to a human being. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Facts.
again, like I'm gonna speak. I definitely stick when to add on, but like again, like we knew there was a gun, and we knew that, and it's so crazy about where hip hop is now because we knew hip hop was important enough that it was the vehicle. Like, so all that with the politics of what neo-colonialism was and understanding that, hell yeah, it was a thing that I was trying to shape and understand. When I saw Obama, I was like, damn, neo-colonialist. Like I was able to identify, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But and I wasn't shook about it, you know what I mean? Where
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people and still are,
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is, and my thing, it definitely is, as we learned that, it was like, hell yeah, like even get the words police state, which like obviously Chairman O'Malley Chatella didn't invent. He was just probably one of the most astute of the revolutionary minds we came across, and delivered that clearly to us enough that we could deliver it. Like I said, we would just kind of do it. We were antennas, and it came through us, in my perception. Stick on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Heard it.
man, I agree. It's like it was new, but ancient too, because when we went looking for this shit, you know what I mean? Like it was already something in us that was looking for what we would find in movements like the Uhuru movement and so forth, right? We was already on the ground. I got kicked out of high school with, I'm talking about I was on a basic level trying to just speak to our experience as black folks in our struggle. Had no political education whatsoever. First time I heard of Malcolm X was ninth grade. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that was soon as, but as soon as Malcolm biography spoke to me, I felt a kinship. Whereas somebody else might have felt like, well, who is this crazy nigga? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that's my father principle. That's my father of philosophy. Like it spoke to me in a way like I came home. So it's on one hand, it's new in terms of us just being young students of political ideology and so forth. Sanity in a world that was saying, what I was doing in my country, little racist town of Wakulla County, just that came natural to me to stand up and speak. That ostracized you in that kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to say. So like it was something that was natural to me. So the movement itself gave me a sense of inner validation
Yeah.
of, you know what I mean, like the
A feeling of
you
belonging.
come into. So
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, like because I still believe that I even though your philosophies may expand and grow and even change in ways, the essential black psychologist when I was getting kicked out in and out of school, and my mom found this brother, Dr. Denard, and he in Tallahassee, Florida. Dr. Denard is an amazing black psychologist. He had a bookstore, and he was endeared to the students. I was just a local, and my mom connected the dots for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I would say is that surprised me, and my most knucklehead moment was talking to him as a black psychologist. He was able to frame what I was experiencing in a way that felt healthy and sane. Whereas other counselors and whatever, they trying to take that field Negro out of you. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? They trying to, you know what I mean? So just early on, I had that mentorship around me that revolutionary is healthy. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Being a revolutionary is a response to oppression. So, you know what I mean? It was new, but I feel like in past life and whatever, I've been riding. You know
All
what I mean?
right.
I want to say this to that man, and just really just say that. And when I met Stick, that's who I met. That guy. That guy is exactly who I met in Dr. Denard's classroom, exactly, is where I met Stick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So big up to Tallahassee, big up to that. It's where I really met Stick. I met him before, but we really saw eye to eye and connected there. But I gotta say, like, Stick's journey and that arc is what Let's Get Free is in the most honest form. And that, I think, when you attribute it to like one of the albums around like its political attitude or like positioning, like it comes from a place of people, and definitely myself included, who, you know, I didn't try to be a revolutionary. I was not like, I didn't come up in a revolutionary household. I didn't. There was none of that. Like Malcolm said, like Stick said, he didn't read Malcolm till he was in the ninth grade. Well, shit, it was after that for me because I'm like a year and a half older than him. You know what I'm saying? So I know for sure, like like I felt like I'm coming from a place of, damn, shit is up, and and that arc is real. Like people were like, we didn't have Panthers as parents. This was like straight from the community shit, and people who believe that things could change, and it's just not like armchair philosophy, or it didn't come from like inside the movement as like this thing. It was like honestly something that we felt could be, and I think that's what connects to definitely certain, like, and I'm gonna use this term, working class folks, but definitely like the average man, about like what kind of album that is. So anyway, yeah.
Damn,
Wow.
we're talking a lot about the substance of, well, we're talking about a lot about where you were mentally, and that leads me to think about the substance of the record and how terms, ideas that y'all were talking about 25 years ago that were considered fringe or considered niche or whatever have made it to the mainstream, right? And we can talk about overtly political things like you mentioned neocolonialism, right? But we can talk about veganism, right? Let's talk about
Right.
like, for instance, there's a song "Be Healthy" where you talk about veganism, healthy diets, and all this other stuff. Now I go to LA and my friends is in the industry. They plant based, right?
Right. Right.
um, you know, uh, People are more adept in their critique of the systems around us and using words that you guys were kind of helping to introduce to like common lexicon. Talk about how it feels to see some stuff that you were kind of sprinkling and putting out there actually become kind of mainstream. For instance, like I think about Styles P, for instance, right? Styles P becoming, plant based, vegan, a person who's into juicing and health and all this other stuff. Um, and I think whether directly or indirectly, folks like y'all had an influence on this.
Man.
Yeah, man. Um, you know, I don't know. I feel the kind of way when you give your own self credit
Props.
for certain things.
Yeah.
I feel like that's for people to say or not say or recognize. I see it more like all of our influence us. We did our thing with those influences, put it out here, and wherever somebody connected or if it moved somebody a certain kind of way, you know what I mean? It triggered some things positively for people. I'm just grateful that that's what you want with your art. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I remember being in. We was somewhere on tour and like it could have been Germany, Austria, I don't know, but we was in a tent, and I remember Fame from MOP
Uh-huh.
was there, and this was a little before, like he was, with all respect to the big homie, like his health wasn't where he wanted it to be,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and
He said he was saying
we
it.
had a
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? No, no, nothing. But the positive thing was he was saying he's kind of like, I'll be paying attention to y'all niggas. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he was taking from that and saying that he was going, get on his health thing and just countless people along our journey have echoed them sentiments. Quest different people that you don't even know or maybe think is paying attention to what you doing. You just
Yeah.
doing what you doing. But to get that reflection sometime from your peers and comrades and, you know, everyday folks, you know, just talking about how they're growing in different ways, politically, health-wise, their family, whatever. To, you know, those things do that feels good. You know what I mean? Because you contributing. We love our community. We love our work. So to get that reflection like that, keep you going in a way like word, you know,
I gotta
real
say this,
recognize
man.
real, you know.
To add on to what Stick said, man, when I go back into that moment, you know, I do remember going to health food stores before they were health there was a chain. There was not a chain. There was no health food store. Me and Stick, no, we used to steal sandwiches out that health food store because they were very expensive. Very. I'm sorry, New Leaf Market. I'm sorry, but we
Yeah.
used to get it because you know we really wanted to sprout sandwich with the different bread because we knew how important our health was to us, and so. I do know it was a time before the word vegan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do remember that. And I'm
Facts.
not, this is not, like Six said, I got to toot my own horn. I'm just talking to people who were there before me. We invented, they had the
Facts.
market. We just came to it. We had the
Right.
wherewithal to say,
Right.
damn, we can't eat KFC no more, which was a real battle. Like I said, I don't want to see people as like people who was born into like this. It wasn't. It was a battle against everything they threw at us for me and this man together side by side walking the pavement to KFC to say,
Facts.
nah, man, we're not gonna eat this chicken or this bucket. We're gonna go over here, even if we got to steal it. And we did. You know what I'm saying? And I can't say we was always on it. We fell off. Look, health is a journey. You know what I'm saying? Like even
Yeah.
for what they call
Facts.
it today, like
Facts.
I'm not a vegan today. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm far from a
Right.
vegan today, but I consider
Right.
myself a healthy human being. You know what I'm saying? Even then I was trying to eat to live, to understand how I can live the longest I can to kick the white man ass. That's really what it's all about. And and you know, that was the thing. And I think, you know, when we may be healthy, it was in that warrior spirit. I'm glad that people can recognize it. But at the in analysis, I don't want to end. I want to end it with this. Salute to Prodigy, man. Salute to my brother for coming. Because if
R.I.P.
there's any more conflict that we saw
Yeah.
as like health in a real world embodied in a person, it was Pete. And we literally was around him in a creative process and would see him also battling, I mean, and more like evident than we like he would just have came from the hospital or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for him to come and say what he said at the end of that song was like, again, I just got to say it speaks to the fact that we know there were people like us who went through that, and it wasn't like a cakewalk into healthy lifestyle. It was like we got to fight the demons off just to get where we at.
Nah.
We was doing the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll add this. I think it's relevant to say, like, my book came out about a year and a half ago.
Title.
5 principles that, yeah, principles, and it literally is that health journey. You know what I mean? Because there's many aspects of our story, you know, that we can tell and I want to tell and share. But I thought that the health and wellness walk is something that's underspoken to. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's something that we need more voice in that space. And so that book is just detailing how I basically discover each principle that I live by. You know what I mean? In my path of well-being, and it chronicles our journey, you know, as artists, as men, as fathers, as, you know, in that kind of way. So yeah, it's like M said, it's a process. It changes. Like even today, what I call my diet is vegetarian. You know what I mean? So it's a little different, you
Vegetarian.
know, and see MCs and just change makers. A lot of times we have to come up, we have to coin our own shit. You know, you have to reimagine, deconstruct, reconstruct, and to articulate your own autonomous thing, you know what I mean? And being that I'm a lifelong student, I'm never gonna get there. I'm never gonna be the expert. I'm going to be an expert student of life, always front of the class, paying attention, right? So it's ever evolving, you know what I mean? So the 5 principles I was able to, in my own way, where like you can't always do that in a 3-minute song, you know what I mean? But in a 80,000 word memoir, manifesto, manual, you can really unpack that different aspects, you know what I mean? So that's been powerful too.
I want to switch gears a little bit to talk about some songs specifically. And I'm gonna tell you my impressions, and you kind of give me, your feedback, knowing as the people who created the record. One thing that strikes me about Let's Get Free is that it's this marriage of East Coast hip hop and a distinctly Southern sound at a time when you didn't really get that. Like you didn't really have that. Like when I say East Coast, I mean like, New York style or whatever. But like the influence of Stick, of Tahir, Head Rush, Abu, like is prominent there, right? Even to the point that the song hip hop itself, it's bigger than hip hop, right? Like people like anthemic song, right? But it was a bouncing song, right? A song with bounce that blew up in New York, that blew up worldwide. So tell me a little bit about the musical approach to making the record.
The sound of Dead Prez came definitely in my mind out of Stick's fingers. You know what I'm saying? I 100% remember, and look, I know music. My mom sang jazz, when I was 15 years old in clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, it's a feel. But one thing that I think that we did together was vibrate together. And that was like, so like, Stick a hit a note and it would be exactly the note I'm feeling. And he would play and manipulate the note in a way that felt really near the kind of, I ain't gonna say it's just the type of life we were living. We didn't have a lot, and there was not a lot of hope in what I felt the future might be. We were hanging on by strings and didn't want to do a lot of things. We already had our own integrity, and that those notes felt like that. And so I remember, being at, and we were around other producers. The thing is, Stick took me to a producer's crib who then we ended up in a house full of other producers. And I got to say, those producers, amazing minds. Abu is one of those people. Abu and Tahir are those people, two of those people. And so who became Head Rush, distinctly owned their own groups. There were many groups in this this thing, that we call Heads from the Attic. And Stick, like when I went into that world, and I have to say, amongst all those producers, Stick's sound was distinct and maybe sharpened by the fact that we was around some sharp ass producers or some real good minds. But he became distinctly sharp to the point that we developed a particular sound that was like, this is the destroy the world sound. You know what I'm saying? This is the, I don't know. I don't want to say that. That's what it's called. But that's what I felt. And I'm like, we could do it with this. And it was akin to, certain shit that we were listening to. We were listening to other people, but it was his own thing. Like, it was his own thing, different than like, obviously, like any other producer that I can name. The other people who came after Stick who embody a similar vibe. But I do think like, the essence of what that was accentuated by, and this came later. So this is Tallahassee I'm talking. And then moving to New York, a la 95 around something like that, 90, early 96, Head Rush, we all moved together. So as we began to develop the things that we did, we would call the homies and be like, yo, sprinkle this on that, or bring some and bring that into this kind of foundation that we had kind of made already. And that, I think that to me is, so Stick. I don't know. You can take it from me. I don't know how you think the rest happens.
Yeah, the collaborative, it's always, everything is a collaboration, like always. Like a person might not push one button on a machine, but their presence in the room or something they talking about, some article they discussing, or their musical ear. Like many times, M would be like, "Yo, what you Pink Floyd or some reggae shit that I never heard of." Just our sharing of our musical inspirations and stuff. And I'm just like hands on in a way. Like I'm more like, well, let's get that. Let's get it on the board. I've never been super tech savvy, but I've learned over the years like to try to get what I want out of the machine. Just like, Karl Marx and them would say means of production. You know what I mean? Like what you know what I mean? Like the means of production. Like, do you have the means to print the shoe or whatever it is you're doing? And you can do that. You know what I mean? So, like but my family of comrades would help my production. Is I'm a workhorse, right? But I'm a perfectionist, right? So many times I'll be cooking something in my student journey, and my bar's up here. I'm like Quincy Jones and all these people that I don't even at that time didn't even know music theory at all. Like I didn't know an F sharp minor from a C major, nothing, right? I'm just doing this. And so I'm always over criticizing, I don't like it. It's not there. And what the homies would do is save me from myself.
Get out of your head. Get out of your head.
And like hip hop was one of those examples. We had made all of Let's Get Free, and the label was asking us for a single.
A radio song.
I was so offended by that. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, a radio song? What kind of group do you think we are? You know what I mean? Like, it was that kind of on the radio. You know what I mean? We had to turn the radio off, right? So that's what I mean by the youth of our shit, right? Sometimes that's your magic. But I literally felt offended that they wanted us to make a radio song, because in my mind at the time that meant sell out, be pop, right? And so for me, I was like, what? How could I throw that insult back at the system for asking us that? And I was like, man, imagine in my head, I'm like, when I grew up in Florida, the most obnoxious shit was the drug dealing dope boys, gold teeth, pulling up in a Buick. All you hear bass, and it's the most obnoxious shit. But the streets love this shit, right? And I was like, imagine, right? Because I'm like, New York don't know about this, such and such. I'm thinking like this right here is gonna be a hilarious, almost mockery or parody or satire.
Damn, it was a joke.
You know what I mean? And I was playing around. The thing about it was, I don't know if the hook was there. It might have been or not. I can't remember. But I remember I was doing that, and I was like, all right, enough of that. Let me move on to something I really like and want to feel like it's some real shit. And like, I don't know, 12 of the homies came through the door in the studio just at that moment. And I think Bang was like, "What you cooking on, Sticky?" And then I'm like, "Man," and he was like, He just was, he's just like, "Let me play that shit," because I know
because he played the ASR. He ASR nigga like Stick.
Okay,
yeah. You know what I'm saying? Bang double from Riley. So, but we just had that vibe, right? And he just kind of like, let me see you. Let me get that, like, in a way. And he played it, and everybody was like, yo, that's crazy. Like they felt it in a way. And I'm sitting there thinking, no way. In no way this song is getting that much. It's literally a bass line and drums.
Yeah.
It's nothing else in the whole song.
And I want to say it wasn't the whole drum. It was really bare bones.
Yeah.
You know what
I'm
saying?
Yeah. It was like
bare bones.
A kick, a snare, and the hi-hat wasn't even dancing right yet, and the bass line. but the energy obviously is what it is because it ain't changed that much. But
Mm-hmm.
long story short, as a producer, I'm thinking this is a joke at best, a sketch, even of something a bass player and other musicians could make into real music, right?
Mm.
But the way they respond, long story short, saved me from, probably putting it in the trash.
And
And then
overdoing it too, yeah.
on top,
Like I think
and
it being
overdoing
stripped
it.
down in the way it being raw the way it is a huge part of the appeal. I think for those who don't know,
Yeah.
if you were fans of the Chappelle show, that's the music he walks out to. Every time you see Chappelle come out on the
Yeah.
Chappelle show, he's walking out to hip hop. I think it's amazing that
Yeah.
song had that impact. And you know what's cool? I like that you intended it as a fuck you, and it was like the best fuck you ever because it worked so well.
Bang, 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 bang. You know what I mean? Rick Rubin is somebody who, like in the Quincy Jones and the other producers, respect like their philosophy of the work they do. And I over the years I've learned that Rick Rubin is somebody who knows how to strip things down.
He's a reducer, he calls
And
himself. Yeah, he said, "I'm not a
yeah, and
producer, I'm a
just keep
reducer."
it
Yeah.
raw.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been, I can appreciate it that much more now. You know what I'm saying? But when M went in the booth, I was like, yeah, okay. But when M went in the booth and was
Mm-hmm.
like, one thing about music, when he did that, I was like, oh, that's what you hear. So this the first time I got to be a fan of us in real time. Like M made me a fan of that song by how he heard it and what he did. Like I literally, just like when people first heard that video
Mm-hmm.
and whatever they was feeling that M had cracking, and people was like, yo, I had that experience in the studio same
Watching
time.
your partner
And
rap. Yeah.
so, yeah.
I just gotta say, hands down, and that's exactly how that went. I gotta say, we was in Sticks crib. Mind you, we making this mockery of New York from Dean Street in Brooklyn. We
Shout out Front Heights.
from the heart. So don't act like we wasn't in Atlanta or nowhere down south. We were literally in Brooklyn and and it was like we
Crown
was like
Heights.
super RBG'd in Brooklyn, like, and with a movement, people on me. Why, like I said, like he said, the mob came in the room. I was able to focus in. Stick don't remember
Bronx to
this,
Brooklyn.
but he was so nonchalant about the beat. He just walked away from it. He was doing something else. He went to the kitchen. I wrote that rap probably about between the time that the homies was liking it and Stick went to the kitchen and did something, and and then came back. That I already wrote. You know what I'm saying? And I understood it. I understood it. I even understood the head. I understood the mockery of that. I was like, and it just got in my soul. So, again, and to speak to that, what's so crazy, we took it to the label, and they fell in love with it immediately. And I think it flew over the head of like kind of certain. I think it's still flying over the head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's in Volkswagen commercials. It's like it's still there. I like, do you understand what you playing right now? But look, we also remixed it. Like, we got Juicy J to do a remix of it. We got like
I
early
never heard
that
that.
never came out. This is shit that never. But this is the label thinking, oh my god, it's a hit. And it needs, and maybe we might need to be ready.
Kanye.
How did the Kanye
So,
West remix come about?
The same way. It
You
was.
gotta tell me the story, because
Well, like how I got put on the Kanye was M.
Okay.
M had his demos, and M is always kind of like a curator of things to come for us, like just in the crew. He gonna have the new shit, the emerging stuff. So to me, it was just another demo of somebody, like different artists and stuff around and whatever. But he was like, yo, Kanye, he got beats and so forth, and and then he was sharing it, and I was like, all right, you know what I mean? It's all right, I didn't catch the wave right away. And but M saw the genius in it, and you know, he would just share it. And then Kanye would come to our sessions, just on some, like, he liked being that he was the contrast of being with what he perceived as the other side, Rockefeller, and we didn't really see it like that. And you know what I mean? Like, we relate to the street shit and the hustle shit just as much. We just didn't do music like that. So long story short, he saw himself. It's funny, Kanye would say he's gonna be the first backpacker with a Benz. And he had this sense of himself, of the bridge between, let's say, Jay-Z and Dead Prez, like whatever that's supposed to be. And he would come to our sessions, take over our session, stand on the souls, play Jesus Walks, and all these, just like, yo, I'm coming, and really do what Kanye do best, you know what I mean? Like, be animated about what he got going on. And I say this humbly, he was an early fan of ours. You know, he was really showed, like, I appreciate y'all, and y'all do something that, and Kanye is a genius in music. So for him to see that something in us in that way, you know what I mean? I appreciated that, you know what I mean? Because I liked his ideas and just the way he would come up with hooks and different stuff in the studio. So that came about, I think, through M's relationship, and then the label kind of saying, well, okay, this is a budding producer.
Yeah, he's got a buzz going on right now. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, a lot of people always thought that Ye did the baseline version, and he actually didn't do that. He did the remix, the Ride to This If You Love Big Pop. That was his hook. That was his vision of how he. So yeah.
So we did. Go ahead.
I gotta give props to the A&R team at Loud, because even though we had our ear to the streets, and it comes a point where they are A&Rs, but we knew what we wanted, and we knew who we were, clearly. And so there wasn't much guidance in that way, but definitely at that point when they had a hip hop and it was something that they felt like to be commercially viable, they wanted to be ready with that. And so when, like, Juicy J tried, which I can't wait to find that version. And because
I need to put that on the deluxe, yo.
I couldn't. It hit the cutting room floor, and it's on some tape somewhere, and I can't find it. But then Kanye came also like that. Like, we already had the relationship, and so when he was brought forward, we were like, why not let him try? And then we went in the studio with him, actually. And I remember he just bought the brand new J's that zip up in the middle, the red and black ones that zip up in the middle. He was very, very happy about these Jordans. And the Kanye that we know, and he was high, he was on one, and he loved Bigger Than Hip Hop, and he had his own idea. He heard the rhyme style in it already. And he could do it and mimic it. So when he hit the button, he did almost like the one Kanye that plays beats for, like, Jay-Z, and, like, he did that, and hit the play button, and it was like, this is how, and he animated it just like Stick said, and then he sang the Ride That Is If You Love Big Papa, That Is If Tupac, and then Big Papa. Pardon me, I got the lyrics wrong. And then to Tahir's credit, we knew we were going to make a remix, so I think they expected us to say the same lyrics, but we were ready with something else. You know what I'm saying? And me and Stick was like, we should flip it, and then we brought Tahir on it, and who rhymes on that as well. So that's the version that you hear, on the album that's produced by Kanye. Like Stick said, it set the register.
Some fun facts for the heads about the creation of that song and how it came about, and how these seemingly, disparate artists linked up. You know what I'm saying? Because I say seemingly, because if you really are in the midst of everything, you realize Cass is not that different. Everybody be coming from the same place. They listen to the same shit. Like, I remember y'all put me on JT Money. It was like, you need to listen to JT Money, Jack and Tourist. I was like, okay, bet. All right.
Yeah.
But, we're gonna start to wrap this up. I want to talk about how y'all have changed and grown as artists and people in the past 25 years. Like, there's things I can point to. Stickman is a long distance runner, right? He's a man who is very focused on peace and physical fitness, mental fitness. M1 is a cannabis justice advocate. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but like, you fight for the people in a different way to change the narrative about cannabis as we see it being legalized all over the place, and seeing and understanding how people are being criminalized. Y'all are both dads, right? Which is a thing that happened. So talk about how you guys have changed, how you're different from the guys from 25 years ago.
I always love Muhammad Ali's quote, where a person who is the same as they were at 50 as they were at 20 has wasted 30 years of their life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the essence of anything revolutionary, right, is change. You
Mm.
know, you constantly changing things, perspectives, strategies. You know what I mean? Like you gotta embrace change if you want to be a change maker. You
Mm.
know what I mean? And a lot of times, you know, you could get focused on external changes, things around us that need changing, but a lot of power. You know, when we say power, the power to the people, the power in the people is literally in us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the changes we can make. So I'm definitely, for me, since the early angst years, you know, I've tried to do work in my own growth that takes a responsibility and accountability, right, for what I know.
Mm-hmm.
Know something is harmful. You know, it's one thing to say the system got us out here doing this harmful. It's another thing for me to say I ain't gonna do that. If I can
Mm-hmm.
consciously, if I can choose something else, if I have access at least, because sometimes we don't. But if I have access, you know, I'm gonna eat better. I'm gonna treat my temple better. You know what I mean? And that just doing that, you know what I mean, made me appreciate those choices and how it impacts everything else, ripple effect. You know, I would never been able to study martial arts for over 10 years intense without prioritizing, you know, some basic shit like nutrients, sleep. When it can't be up till 5 in the morning every night, you know. So it just certain things like that actually had a effect I ain't even expect. Because then now your mind is more clear. And then, you know, alcohol, I used to drink heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize, start learning like the say like alcohol and your liver and your emotion of anger, right?
Mm.
And you know, you start learning, and I'm a student, and you know, martial arts leads you into holistic philosophies and things like that. So, you know, it's all of those things, if you allow it, give you more of an inner center peace. You know what I mean? When you navigating shit and frustrations of living and life and whatever. So more meditation, more physical fitness, you know what I mean? More nutritious intake, less toxic shit. And then what you end up, what people might say, nigga got soft.
Yeah,
But
laugh at that.
you know, you know, you but hard, but you know, like Bruce Lee would say, you know, water can be soft or it can crash. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So you embody water more, and like I'm not gonna fall for the okie doke in certain kind of ways. My ego don't need nothing. I don't need, you know what I mean? I'm gonna do this work and be impactful and get out the way. So, you know, my strategy, I feel like wellness is a revolutionary act in a system that's trying to keep you sick, crippled, ignorant, and disenfranchised. So maybe you'll reach limitations because it's hard to be 100% healthy in a toxic system. But striving for wellness in that space is going to heighten the contradiction to where, you know, we going if when people are ready, when the consciousness is there, we'll keep advancing our demands. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be in shape for whatever is to come. You know what I mean?
I love that. I
Awesome.
love that.
I would speak to that to say, in these 25 years, uh, since we made Let's Get Free, so much has transpired. And like Stick said, we had so many aspirations, not only for ourselves, but for the world. And what's humbling is, you deal with what we got. You know what I mean? And as a revolutionary, there's been so many highs and lows. I cannot even, uh, I have to admit, in many of those years I spent maybe even demoralized around not reaching certain goals politically. And I had to deal with that, in my mind and therapeutically. So many of our political prisoners, you know, um, spent most of their time in prison and in their last breath of air, you know, uh, at home. But still, free them all. It's free them all the time, and that's something that again, like I still carry, and I think, like Stick said, it comes with being able to recognize we definitely not going to be the same guys as we always were, and so coming after Let's Get Free, I had 5 daughters, so I become pro woman in so many ways. You know what I mean? Like my attitude, my perspective has been about raising queens and women. And as a man doing that, if I'm to be candid, the reason why I have 5 girls is because I was chasing the boy. That's not what the creator gave to me. And I got to speak to that in so many ways. So I'm so pro woman, and in that way, I love to understand. I think women are the leadership and have been in our way, and I hope the legacy that we leave, really speaks to us being able to say we raised up, women in a way, or we were able to speak to, this in a certain kind of way. So with that, one of my main businesses that I do now is with my wife, Narissa Nefertiri, and it's a women wellness line.
Mm,
It's called Lotus Fresh,
mm,
and we run it for many years. We used to have stores in Miami, but we still online with the presence. And Lotus Fresh is one of the main lines. The Femme Health Boutique is the main place you can find the community. And I've been behind my wife, who is definitely like main inspiration, along with Stick, for my
mm,
own physical health. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? Like definitely me and Stick traded off. I saw him, become well and get well and be wellness. And I, am that as well. And I love the fact that that's what I can lead to my daughters. And a funny thing about that is, one of my daughters pronounced to me that is now changed her gender, so she's
Mhm,
he now,
mhm,
and that's interesting, actually, for me to deal with. And I'm saying this to the world because I can, and because it's my real life. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And something that I'm dealing with. So maybe who would have thunk? Like I wonder. I wonder, did Malcolm would he have had to deal with that, or with Kwame Nkrumah or Thomas Sankara, and how would they have? And it don't even have to be them. It just gives me that perspective in my day.
And now you have that
Um,
son too. That's the other thing.
I got that son. I was about to
And
say I got
you
the
got
son,
that
and
son.
it's,
And I
it's
think I think a
say
really
that.
important thing. I think a really important thing in these revolutionary movements, like I talk to people like Ashanti Austin and all that, is change. To your point, Stick, right? And how our perspectives start to broaden, right? And there was a point where the movement was very narrow and it was about the black man, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, get behind me and all that. But we started to expand and we incorporated things like black feminism into it, whatever. Now we
Yes.
can we can address all the struggles of black people across the board, no matter gender identity, no
Of
matter,
all people.
Exactly. And
of
then to all
all people.
people and know all
Yes.
people. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And not only the struggle, but the triumphs,
Mm-hmm.
the things that work. A lot of times you can get caught up in the mud and forget the lotus. You know what I mean? You
Mm.
can, and so for me, that's been a big shift in terms of change. Is I focusing on what you're against. But what about what you're for? What are you for? What are you for? And just in that alone is a different frequency. It opens up because now it's like, if we destroy this thing? What are we gonna build? What are we gonna
Mm-hmm.
have? I'm more now. I'm that side of the focus. Is like, what am I for, and how can I in a positive way? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? Still gangster code if necessary on whatever level. You know what I mean? But strive for peace. Strive for a holistic view of things, and one day at a time. You know what I mean? Do what it do.
So
I just wanted to complete the end of that because you introduced me also as a cannabis justice advocate, and I
mm-hmm.
just wanted
Mm.
to not leave that out there and want to say to that of course is directly connected to all the work we've ever done.
Yeah.
Just
Mm-hmm.
because if someone sees a disconnect there, I like to close that gap for us because what cannabis is just something that's phenomenal. Uh, it's a phenomenon the same way that fashion can be, or even sometimes that revolution can be. That's the reason why
Mm.
people say put attach the word revolution to everything, including toothpaste. But the phenomenon that cannabis can be is also related to not only health and wellness. It's all not only related to economics, but there's a justice and culture aspect that comes with it. And with that being said, our culture, which has maybe introduced cannabis, from Africa through India, and the reason why it's here, and even that jasmine and that what they call jazz is based off the fact that cannabis was in the room. That
Mm-hmm.
is the jazz. That's the jasmine, right?
Mm.
So it has coupled our, culture, and I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the plight that the cost for Black people, the most as it relates to weed, because we the ones who end up in jail the most for it,
Mm.
and with the fact that now it's seen people are championing its commercial viability and what it means to, like, the wellness world, and it's becoming this billion-dollar product, the new cotton, if you will. I definitely think one of the things that need to be spoken about is cannabis prisoners who stay behind jail, and should be free. And at the same way, you would have any political prisoner. I think there's a way to talk about the war on drugs that relates to building prison industrial complex. I know we say that word, but it's just the truth. And how where we are is related to that. And I think an easy pressure point to talk about, and with any regime, whether it be Trump or Biden or anyone, is cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Senator Elizabeth Warren just yesterday talking to Elon Musk about, you want to cut prices, you want to cut the spending of the government, then stop raiding cannabis homes, and which doesn't lead to anything federal, especially when many states have made it legal. And so, with that being said, I represent an organization called the Last Prisoner Project, and the website is lastprisonerproject.org. And I really urge people to check out the recent commutations that were done by Biden. He did 2,500 commutations, and at one time, he did more than that at the end of his sentence. So that means he let out a lot of people, and a couple of
Mm.
those people were based on cannabis. But I really want people to look at, like, who we are in that,
Mm.
and I think there's a way we can show up and really make a statement, not only about freeing cannabis prisoners, but about what real justice means in the world today. So again, Those are my reasonings. Of course, we still here, like Stick say, 10 toes down. Really, like this, our revolution can be handled in so many ways. There's a deeply personal revolution that we need to handle, and then there are, as forward on the front line as you want to be, even if you want to stand right now for our brown homies, who built this country, who they trying to eject up out of this country, and that's what we're doing, black and brown power. So we're still here, and I just wanted to add that note. And
bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
We still here. The struggle continues and the struggle evolves. Thank you, M1. Thank you, Stick, for sitting down and talk to me about Let's Get Free at 25. I appreciate you. All right, brothers.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you, Timmhotep, man.
Hope
I gotta say, you probably one of my favorite coverers of the culture. You know what I'm saying? We used to have Harry Allen. I think we got you now. I love your perspective. Even though you with Let's Get Free the way you do, you also non-biased in a lot of ways, and I like the way you cut with it. So thank you for presenting this, man. Salute to you.
Salute,
brothers.
Yeah, I respect that too.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day, y'all. Peace.